Hey y'all, I'm Ellen. We've been super inspired by our journeys of self-healing and discovery.
And I'm Sam, and we want to share our experiences with you to help you get curious about yourself, reconnect, and get intentional about your life so you know what makes you happy.
Welcome to Woo New, the podcast. So I am trying to think of the best way to describe our guest, Jody Levy. And in essence, she is an entrepreneur and a maker and a creator, but I actually really believe that she is an artist. She is like an artist of business and of products and ideas and concepts. And the reason why I call her an artist, and she may totally disagree with me, and she's welcome to, is that I feel like she puts so much of herself and her journey and who she is inherently into each of these things that she has put out into the world. And I'll just list off a few, starting with watermelon water, which I'm kind of obsessed with, and you may have seen it. It's, green and pink on the shelves in the grocery store. I freaking love this water, and I drink it whenever I could find it. She has this amazing product, which we'll probably spend the most time today talking about, called the Milk Cleanse. And I don't want to go into too much detail yet because I really want Jody to explain this. And then she also has this rad app called the NeuroPraxis app, which is, I'm going to read it out. It's NeuroSculpting modules specific for overcoming pain, PTSD, stress, and symptoms associated with biotoxic exposure, including Lyme disease, mold disease, viruses, parasites, and more. And I just find everything that she touches and everything that she's put out into the world. I mean, she also has a mezcal company. It's like, it's bonkers to me, but we're just so excited to have you here with us, Jody, and just to hear about your story, hear your journey in creating all these different things, but really most of all, how it's led you to this milk cleanse, which I think when I first heard it, I was like, I don't know about this. And then when I started talking to you, I was like, oh, damn, there's something here that, and I think it really, really needs to be shared. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my God. Thank you guys for having me. And that was a beautiful moment to just kind of like get back in my body. And your description of me as an artist is like totally on point. So I am an artist. I make large scale paintings and drawings and sculptures.
Oh, wow.
Ever since I was like 8 years old and hit flow state for the first time, I knew that I was pursuing a life of fine art, which is totally what led me to the medium of business.
Wow.
And I don't think we ever even talked about it. So
No.
super intuitive and like totally, that's how my entire life is guided.
Oh my God. It totally shows in your businesses.
Mm-hmm.
It shows in the work that you put out. It's like, it's amazing. I mean, all right, let's go back to the beginning, because first of all, you hit flow state at 8. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember being 20 and being like, man, I wish I loved anything as much as some of my friends love that just one thing, like they have it so figured out.
Well, I obviously didn't know to call it flow state then, right? But I was like, I was in public school in the Detroit area, and I was in art class, which I was always really good at, I loved it. The teacher was always like, okay, you got this. Like I was focused. A lot of other things I was not good at and never good in school. And I remember I had to copy like a purple and pink Georgia O'Keeffe painting, flower.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not happy that I had to copy anything. And like, I remember it. Like I was like in 3rd grade and I was just like grumpy because I couldn't have it my way. I never did great with people telling me what to do. And I was like using that gouache paint, the stuff that kind of smells like eggs and sulfur.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And all I remember is the bell ringing, and the bell just like snapped me right back to time and place. But it was in that moment that that bell was ringing that I was like, wow, where did I just go? Like I just transported somewhere.
Oh, wow.
And I went home that day and I was like, oh my God, you guys, I know what I am. Like, I'm an artist. I'm an artist. And, you know, my like suburban Jewish parents were like, okay, great, cool, awesome. And I'm like, no. Like, you don't understand. Like, this is who I am. Like, I'm a painter. This, like, and they were like, okay, awesome, amazing. And not too long after that, I totally like took over my parents. There was this porch in the back that was all glass windows. And I was like canvases and paper and glue. And at some point, not too long after, I disassembled my mom's vacuum cleaner and turned it into a sculpture of a lobster.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Which she was not very happy about because I didn't ask permission. And there was a workbench involved, and they were like, okay, she wants hammers and like saws. Like, all right, how bad could it be? Right. And it's sort of been the thing that guided my whole life. Like I went to school for fine art. That's the only thing I even have a degree in.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
How did that lead you to the business world?
So it's such a weird, I don't even know like how to answer that. So I went to a bunch of different art schools. I sort of used college as a way to travel the world and take on, you know, challenging issues in our society. And I finished at the Art Institute of Chicago. And I was always really into design. And I kind of had this intuition that I was selling some of my paintings, but I was more fascinated with fine art being like a communication platform and method to telling big stories that, you know, could lead to change in our world. And so I think I sort of knew that I didn't want to have to rely on my art to live. So when I was 21, I started my first company, and it was an experiential design firm. It was kind of the first time anybody was using the term experience design outside of like interface design or websites. And based on the premise of by appealing to as many senses as possible, and by thinking about how different people learn and assimilate information, we could immerse people in a complex story. So alternative fuel for the automotive industry, or a new type of, you know, technology, or, you know, whatever it was. We were working with, you know, big Fortune 50 companies around the world. And so I really took the professional side of my creative expression more focused on like design thinking and design solutions, and kept my artwork for the part of me that was more of like the intuitive side. And my pieces are all really big, and they it's like they're like energy. They move energy through space. And so I always just kept it separate so that like my artwork was pure and my design work was defined by the constraints of the problems that I was solving.
Wow. That makes sense.
That's so cool.
And then from there, I took that design thinking and started applying it not just to clients and communication campaigns, but to my own products and brands and stories, and ultimately businesses and structures and teams. And it's always the same. Like it's the same process as if I'm trying to solve a company, you know, or solve like something in my medical chart. It's always the same thing. It's like, what's the root cause? How do I get there? What are the inputs? What are the constraints? And I call it my plot process.
Man, first of all, I just love the way it's not just your brain. I think it's your whole being. I love the way it works, because I think you have this like really creative and emotive side that can express herself, you know, through sculpture and art and stuff. And then you can also bridge that with what I think some would call like a very analytical, which I mean is so necessary for problem solving, you know, but I think your intuition plays into that as well, where you're intuitively also kind of like following breadcrumbs and trails and leveraging that artistic side to help problem solve in some of your business applications, your, you know, and then also like what you experienced in your body and medically. So I'd love to take us there and just kind of talk a little bit about like what you have experienced or what did you go through that has basically like guided you towards this product, this offering, the milk cleanse.
Yeah. The most provocative and controversial thing I've done to date is a wellness intervention that has to do with goat milk. It's very humorous. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you both for like, I feel like you are both seeing the part of me that a lot of people don't often see, or they kind of stop at the part where I'm like tough and can solve everything, but they miss the part that is very much guided by, you know, intuition and kind of the less visible kind of invisible forces. So, you know, it's a real pleasure to be in this conversation with you both, knowing that you kind of see me so fully. So I, as part of my journey, when I said in college, I kind of used it as an opportunity to explore how art can be, you know, a communication method. And I jumped around a lot. I got scholarships and grants, and I started off in Saratoga Springs, New York, at a school called Skidmore for the first couple of years. And I was from Michigan. Like I didn't really grow up with tick awareness. But I'm like a nature girl from Michigan. So I spent every day in the backwoods on campus and just thinking and being inspired for, you know, my fine art curriculum that I was in. And after my first year at school, I got really sick. I was back in Michigan. I ended up being hospitalized. And again, like it was, I don't know, 1998 or something in the Detroit area. And like there weren't ticks here. And the doctors didn't know what was up, and they didn't know what was, you know, precursors to Lyme disease. And so they were basically like, stop, you know, hanging out with your friends, stop partying. I was really into the music scene. I would stay up late at night, but I would sleep, you know, all the hours I needed to. I was taking good care of myself. And I just sort of accepted the fact that like I had, you know, something or else. And I just like, it never made sense, but I was like, okay, I did something, right? I got myself out of balance. And then for 18 years, which seems like a very long time, I kind of knew that something was off. And I would go to all these different doctors and they would check all the normal things. And they'd be like, oh my God, you're the epitome of health. You're so like, everything's perfect. Everything's fine. And at the expense of anybody listening, hearing like all of my woes, which I don't like talking about anyways, I can summarize it like this. When I would see other people kind of living life, their joy and the ease of like movement and just being out in the world was something that seemed unfamiliar to me.
Wow.
And I just like persevered. I was like building companies and working and traveling all over the world and having these like incredible adventures. And everyone around me was just like, slow down, take a vacation, chill out, stop starting things, you know? And the truth was like all the things I was doing was kind of saving my everything, right? It was like, it was the source of joy that I was looking for. And, you know, I was in pain and I was going through other stuff, but nobody can make any sense of it. So I just thought what everybody else thought, which was that I was in some way crazy. And then I had kind of, you know, been traversing the planet and my career and had started Watermelon Water, and we were like in wild growth mode towards the beginning of the adventure. And the world had caught up, right? Like I had been eating in a certain way nutritionally that was kind of keeping me healthy and happy. And I was doing things like early biohacking stuff that wasn't called biohacking at the time. Just like, thank goodness my sister is my best friend and she's like this fitness nutritional expert. And we would just like test things and try things. And, all the way through, everybody was like, oh, just change your mindset. Just change your this. Just, you don't really have pain. Tell yourself the pain is gone, like insert a million different examples here. And finally, one day I was like, okay, I'm the person that can take an idea and bring it into the world. I can create everything out of nothing. I can solve anything. I can do the impossible. There's no way that I can accept that like, this is how I'm supposed to be living. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to CEO my own health. I'm going to treat this the way I would a business that nobody else understands. And I'm just going to like audit, pick it apart, pull out every hidden detail, and I'm going to reassemble it and figure out what's first wrong and then how to fix it. So I did that. It took me almost 4 years.
Were you in your 20s at that time?
No, I was like, this was way more recently than that.
Oh, wow.
I mean, not that I'm that far from 20.
Well, it's so funny because like when you mentioned the music scene, it like literally clicked in my brain. I'm like, oh my God, Detroit techno. I bet she was super into that. Like that was so what I was into in the 90s. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, it's cool. So I was in high school when like Detroit techno was picking up. And my first entrepreneurial venture, this is not something I talk about publicly very often. I was so into the music. And when the music went from like the warehouses, where we were pulling apart fences and bringing in generators into the clubs, we needed IDs.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
so
keep going.
I was never into drinking, but I wanted to dance. So I figured out we were on the border to Canada. And I figured out that there were these people in Toronto that were making these like amazing identification cards, and you could take the story where you will. And so I just, saw it as my civic duty to make sure that anybody that wanted to dance to the music could.
Oh, wow.
Damn, we are like soul sisters. I was in the meantime down in Austin making a rave zine and like trying to pump up the rave, like basically culture down there. Like, wow. Okay. This is super, super rad. But I love, you are a born entrepreneur. That's crazy. I love it.
Thanks. Well, to be continued, because I just want to know what was going on in Austin in like, the late 90s. It's something Berlin, Chicago, New York, but I've never thought about what was going on in Austin.
It was such a great scene. And it's like Sam knows this, but this whole like rave foundation has come back into like my breathwork practice, and it's like showing up in new ways. I just facilitated this breathwork and dance party yesterday. I mean, it's fucking sick.
So
like
rad.
it was so
looking
fun.
At the videos and I was like, oh man, the girl on the table, I was like, she's my spirit animal.
I know.
Amazing. I love that. It's interesting because I think that like it's really comfortable. Like I still prioritize like my most important thing in my life is my relationship to sound and music and sound systems. So like to this day, if I'm off balance or if I like don't feel good in my body, my go-to beyond obviously like the nutritional stuff is like a dance floor.
I love it.
So to me, that's like still my number one.
It's medicine. It's medicine. I love it.
Totally. So where I diverted us into the ravers that we will always be. It was, I was basically committed to, I was like, if I can find a way to get myself better, I know I have the tools to share it with everybody. And there are so many people that, like me, know that they're not okay. They're suffering. And a lot of them are suffering way worse than I ever was, because like I have, you know, an optimism and a perseverance that like I won't give up and I'll keep going. Right.
Mhm.
But a lot of people can't. They just like don't have that spirit, for lack of a better description. So I meticulously like chronicled my adventure all across the planet, doing all kinds of non-traditional, traditional, weird, wacky, like Western, Eastern, Andean, you name it,
Wow.
practices and protocols. Like, you know, there's sort of a joke in my universe of doctors who are all my best friends. Like my Dropbox is like a coveted experimental, you know, place for people that have like invisible chronic illness. And I sent parts of me, right? My DNA and my this and my that across the planet. I mapped everything.
What? Wow.
And I did it all silently, because I was building businesses and I was raising money and I was sitting on boards, and like, I didn't want to jeopardize perceptions around my career, which was like the one thing bringing me so much joy.
Mm-hmm.
So about 3.5 years into that journey, I was just totally, what's the word? Like defeated.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did a bunch of stuff and it was cool and it was interesting, and, you know, like I'd feel better for a minute and then I wouldn't. And it was just like, I'd go up and then I'd go down. And it was just this constant like balancing act.
Yeah, that must be exhausting.
And like, I mean, honestly, it gets extreme. Like you get to the point of, you know, survival and like acceptance with it. And when you're at the point where you're like, maybe this is how I have, like, maybe this is my karma. Like maybe this is my calling. Like I have to live like this, and this is life. And like, maybe I just have to find a way to accept that, which was always sort of the unacceptable. And I'm in Colorado with my sister, and she's like, you know, you've been carrying around those weird supplements for like almost a year in your computer bag. And I'm like, yeah, I know. She's like, why don't you just do the milk thing? Like drink milk for 8 days, take the pills. At this point, it couldn't hurt. And so the backstory is, I had been at a dinner party with one of my best friends, and somebody had come up to me and he was like, listen, I know you don't want anyone to know about this, but I know you're suffering. At this point, I knew, okay, so at this point, I knew that I had 14 different types of tick-borne illnesses in my body.
Oh my God.
14?
What?
And I had exposure to toxic mold at very high levels.
Wait, where did that happen?
Yeah.
So I had gotten to the point of my information where I knew enough that like I kind of had somewhat of a roadmap in my system.
Wow.
Well, that's a tricky question of where did it happen. I think that there's probably a bunch of places where it could have happened, from, you know, basements that flooded, and an ex-boyfriend's house that was filled with Stachybotrys, which is black mold. And but I think that the tick bites happened when I was running around in the backwoods before I ended up hospitalized after my first year of college.
So these were several tick bites. It wasn't just through one instance.
Who knows? But based on the things that were going on in my body, I would definitely say that, like, I don't know, who knows? It was a big load.
Yeah. At 14. Wow. That's crazy.
So anyways, my friend Dave comes up to me. He was like, okay, listen, I know I'm not supposed to know this. However, I do. And I want you to call this woman. Her name is Dr. Linda Lancaster, and she's got this amazing thing. And she's been using this modality for 40 years. And just call her, because there's a lot of people that I know who have like suffered from all this invisible stuff, and this helps bring them into balance. And I was like, you know, once I got over the fact that he knew the stuff about me that he wasn't supposed to know, I was like grateful. And I was like, okay, I'm a yes to everything, not giving up now. Right. So I met Dr. Linda Lancaster, who's now my dear friend and business partner. And I heard about this, you know, wellness intervention. She tested me and she was like, okay, I'm sending it over, and she sent me the kit. And again, like 9 months went by. So I heeded my sister's wisdom as always. And we went to Whole Foods and we bought, you know, a bunch of like pasteurized goat milk. And I was like, all right, this is weird, right? Like, I don't eat gluten. I don't drink dairy. I try to not eat anything with sugar in it. And I started doing the milk cleanse, like this kind of hand-packed version of the milk cleanse that Linda's been using for 40 years, which is essentially an adaptation of an Ayurvedic parasite cleanse. And, you know, I went through it. Like it was, you know, resetting my system in a way that was extreme the first time. Now I do it like at least 4 times a year, and it makes me feel amazing.
What did you experience that first time?
Yeah.
The first time was a lot of physical, emotional, and mental, like pulling out, right? So the milk is like a magnet, and you take these pills every 2 hours, and the pills help move things through your system. And my body just took to it. Wow. I mean, my body just said, like, it was like this easy, peaceful, ancient way of like getting things to get out of my system that had just been lodged there for too long. And I mean, I've never let like any of the pain or the slowness or the brain fatigue and fog and stuff like that get me. But like, I'll be behind my sister climbing up a mountain on like hands and knees. And so all of a sudden, like first couple days, I had this flood of energy. I felt amazing. So me and my sister, Melissa, and her husband, Ryan, we'd go on a trail, and all of a sudden I'm, you know, keeping up with them. Wow. They're like the most hardcore fitness trainers you've ever seen. And I'm like vertical. I'm not like on my hands and knees. And I'm like, oh my God, I can keep going. This is amazing. And like day 5, I think, like I just got this wash in my brain, and my whole brain cleared, and my vision got crazy clear. And, you know, I'm like, the whole time I'm only drinking milk and coffee and a little water. And I'm like, this is so weird. And I feel so good. I've been traveling the world, spending every dollar to my name, and nothing made me feel good. And like, this makes me feel good.
Wow.
And so by day 8, I felt like a person that I didn't recognize, like a person that I hadn't seen in a long time.
That must have been such a relief.
Well, to be honest with you, it actually freaked me out, because I was like, how long is this going to last? Like, I was like, oh my God, I feel like myself. Like I can feel my passion. I can feel my energy. Like I can feel my like lust for life that I've sort of been like fabricating for myself. Like, what if it doesn't last? Like, what if this is just like a moment of a reminder, right?
Yeah. I would be freaked out too.
But it lasted. And like 6 months later, I was like, oh my God, like I feel amazing. And I ended up jumping into the CEO role of one of my beverage companies. And I was planning on staying in for like 2 months or something. And I was cautious. Like, I was like, I can't take on that level of stress. Like, what if it sets me back? I was in the role for 2.5 years.
Wow.
I was flying. My brain was super sharp. Like I was leading with love and like clarity. I was taking on huge projects and responsibilities, and I felt amazing. And I really kind of never looked back. I mean, I do the cleanse now, usually like 4 times a year. Now that we've turned into this product, I kind of do it a little more frequently because people will be like, oh my God, I'm so freaked out. Will you do it with me? And I'm like, of course. Any excuse to drink goat milk for a week and nothing else is like, I'm a yes. Anyone listening, if you want moral support, I'm your girl.
I love it.
But so on that 8th day, kind of in between, worrying about the future, I called Dr. Linda and I called Dave, the guy who I credit for saving my life, who came up to me at the party and told me about the milk cleanse. And I was like, this is a game changer. Of all the money I've spent and all of the coat closets I've been in with IVs in my arm, because I used to hide in coat closets so that I could like keep working and raising money and building things, didn't want anyone to know what I was doing.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, this is it. Like, this is so easy. And this is just, all it's doing is bringing the body back in balance. And that's what everybody needs. And every modality is different for every person. Every person's body and what's going to balance them is going to be different for them. The environment that they're in, the people that they're around, the food that they're eating, the water, the air. And so, this isn't like, I don't think everybody has the type of immediate reaction that I had that first time. I had done a lot of stuff to get me to that place.
Right.
But the weird thing is, a lot of people do.
Wow. Did you change anything at all? I mean, you were just, the only thing that was different was that you were doing this cleanse.
So one of the things about like how meticulous I was being is that I had trained myself to always only do one thing at a time.
Okay.
Because I wanted to be able to measure, the ups and downs, the after effects, etc., of each of the things that I was trying. Now, there are 2 other products that, one of which is out and one is coming. So a couple of years later, so this was in 2016 that I did my first milk cleanse. We didn't bring it to the world until last June. I put it on the shelf because I was like, I had other obligations and responsibilities. And then I had to do the cleanse. I needed to kind of reset my system. And I did the cleanse, and I just remembered, after so much time, like how imperative it is to have a tool that you can rely on to reset the gut, which resets the brain, which resets the skin, which, there's a domino effect. And so at that point I was like, we have to bring this into the world. Now, I also was having a lot of back pain, and I had gone to all these sports medicine experts and had kind of come to the realization that I was having neurological pain.
Oh, wow.
Which at the beginning I was like, don't tell me my pain's not real, right? It's not just in my head.
Was this related to some of the Lyme disease and the?
Well, I didn't know, right? So like then, right, it was very serendipitous, as my life often is, because then I sort of got keyed into this whole new world of learning, where what they're finding is that the limbic system of the brain often loops in pain patterns related to stress, PTSD, and injury, right? So with a lot of people that have suffered from chronic illness of all kinds, if there are pains in your joints or in your brain or in your psychology, emotional, physical, mental, etc., there can be triggers that tell the body to cycle in that pain.
Ah, interesting.
Wow. So it's like your body, your mind just got used to it, and then those neurological patterns got set in.
Yes. And one step further, there's actually triggers.
Wow.
So it's like if you hear of somebody that loses a limb and has phantom pain,
Mm-hmm.
that's because in order to get rid of the phantom pain, they actually have to reprogram the limbic system in the brain.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Oh, wow.
So I have this incredible woman in my life. She's like my secret weapon. And she was like, there's this woman and her name is Lisa Wimberger. And I think you need to go find her. And Lisa, who's like, of course, now my best friend and my business partner in our app called NeuroPraxis. She and I like write this essay, right? And I'm like, just please write me back. Please write me back. Please write me back. And she like writes me back and she's like, okay, great. Let's meet, and I'm like, okay, great. Where am I traveling to? I think I'm like, have to fly to Europe. And turns out she's 1 block away from me in Denver at the NeuroSculpting Institute, of which she founded.
What?
Stop it.
And it was just this crazy, like serendipitous thing. So I walk into her office. It's Halloween. I am in a all white handmade unicorn onesie, obviously, because it's Halloween. And she looks at me and I look at her, and we were just like, sisters from a different lifetime. And we just started laughing. And we did 4 sessions over like a couple weeks. My pain of 25 years completely went away, never came back.
Wow.
Holy shit. Okay, can you break down what happens in these sessions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. So before I do that though, then what I did was I learned the difference between like meditation and true brain repatterning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So meditation's amazing. Like it relaxes the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, but and so many other amazing, delicious benefits. But NeuroSculpting, which is this trademark modality that Lisa created, actually gets into the midbrain and repatterns the loops.
Whoa.
So I was on an airplane and I outlined like 75 hours worth of modules, which was every kind of physical, mental, emotional, psychological pain imprint that anybody with Lyme, mold, biotoxic, symptoms, like viruses, etc. And Lisa went into the studio and recorded them all. And we launched NeuroPraxis, which is our NeuroSculpting app.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. What are these modules like? Or like when you said that you wrote down 75 different like modules
my participation in it was really like, I was like, okay, so there's like acute, active symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like maintenance and prevention.
Mm-hmm.
So it's everything from joint pain, back pain, brain fog, to the psychology of nobody believing that something is wrong, to, wanting to get rid of anxiety or fear of exposure, or, everything from light sensitivity to pain in your feet to, I outlined everything.
Wow. Oh my God.
But to answer your other question, the way it works is this. So in every module, they all follow the same format. There's an initial kind of grounding so that the body feels safe and, stays out of fight or flight. Mm-hmm. And then Lisa will lead the user. It's like a guided meditation. So she'll lead the user through something that kind of invokes imagination. And the intent is to activate the prefrontal cortex. It might be, imagine colorful clouds in the sky, or, like something unrealistic falling or growing out of the ground.
Okay.
And then she'll connect the left and right brain hemispheres by saying a word, freedom, Freedom. And once she kind of gets to the place where the prefrontal cortex is activated, the left and right brain hemispheres are connected. She'll bring the user into the midbrain, which is where the stress and PTSD triggers loop.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll address the topic at hand to be repatterned. And then you come back out of that safely and comfortably to kind of create a muscle memory. So oftentimes in the app, there's a place where you can actually like put a word or program you might put your hand on your heart or on your arm or your index finger to your thumb and kind of create an imprint in the brain so that there's a tactile reminder or a word to call upon for the brain to reference the repattern.
Oh, so it's like you're triggering the repattern.
Correct.
Wow.
So like the way I use it, so I'll use it as like a spot treatment, if I'm feeling a little anxious or if there's something heavy, there's a section called the feel goods. And I'll just do there's one called Glow that I love. There's one for anxiety that sometimes I'll do. But let's say I have pain, like in my lower back or my knee or something. I'll actually do one of the body brain bones for my knee. And I'll do it every day for like 7 to 14 days. And I repattern it. It's gone.
Oh my God. This is.
Whoa. Do you ever have people who maybe aren't suffering from something as intense as PTSD, but maybe have persistent anxiety that have really found benefits out of this too?
Absolutely. And so one of the things that we're working on now, so we thought that we were just creating this app, for this tiny subset of human beings that have invisible stuff. Right. But then we launched it during the beginning of this pandemic. We actually kind of saw this whole universe was unfolding and that people were in need of support for their mental health. And so we put it up on a web app. So any non-iPhone users can actually still access the web app. But 7 months before we got the iPhone app done. And now what we're working on is a general library that's more like stress and anxiety. And then we're working on a library that's like NeuroPraxis for peak performance. We're working on NeuroPraxis for entrepreneurs because there's so few tools for entrepreneurs out there. And so we have all these libraries coming that Lisa and I have worked up, and Lisa's going into the studio to record.
That's so incredible.
I know. I mean, what it reminds me of, and totally correct me if I'm totally misunderstanding, but it almost feels like it's like hypnotherapy, but in a very, very
accessible. It's so accessible.
Yeah, accessible, but also it's like spot treatment hypnotherapy almost. I don't know if that even makes sense, but it seems so I'm blown away right now as you were sort of explaining that.
And for anybody that wants a starter kit, so we, in partnership with Abracadabra TV, who are my dear friends, for the music lovers in the room, Viv, who goes by Blondish, has a Twitch network called Abracadabra, and she's been super supportive of NeuroPraxis. And so on SoundCloud, you can actually find a handful of NeuroPraxis modules that are a lot more generic. They're not for any invisible, balancing acts or anything like that related to health, but just more general stress well-being. They're obviously, accessible to everybody without subscription. So that's a good place to find some. And then also the feel goods, I think we have on a Patreon. Those are free on Patreon. So I can send all that to you guys so that.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. Yeah. This is it really is blowing my mind because Sam and I are so, we're daily meditators now. And before we even got into all of basically what I call our sort of spiritual awakening, there was a lot of digging into, the brain, how it works, like all the different, like how stress responses work, and programming and repatterning and how that works. And I think, when we launched our company, We Are All Daughters, the first products that we launched with were aromatherapy, particularly because it just directly like not attacks, that's the wrong word, but like it directly works with the limbic system just to like regulate from that place. But what you're describing with NeuroPraxis is just like, man, I just like want to hang up right now and go try it out.
I know. It sounds so amazing, because I even remember when we first started meditating too, it's like, I feel like so many people, I certainly thought this, like when I first started, it was like, oh, mindfulness meditation is really the only thing that you really hear about. So it was like the first thing that we tried. But even as we got into other modalities like hypnotherapy and like even sound therapy and stuff, I was like, wow, all of these things make such a huge physiological impact on your body. And they're so much easier than mindful meditation. And there's so many other types of meditations themselves that are easier to step into the invitation of practicing than sort of forcing yourself to sit and like try and not think when you're stressed and you're full of anxiety. Like if we had known that this was even an option, it was like, it would have been like top of the list.
Yeah, like a game changer.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I love is that like they can be active. So sometimes if I'm really going through it and I just like need to move my body, I'll put on a module and get on my bike.
Oh, I love that.
I know, it's like the most liberating thing ever. Or I'll like sit in a bathtub and it doesn't have the same like necessary stillness as meditation. And I also meditate. So for me, it's not like an and or, which is why I love that I can be like walking or riding. We recommend not driving.
Got it. Anything like active that could potentially like
please don't operate heavy machinery. Yeah, exactly.
So like aside from you as speaking as a meditator, also like for you, aside from the fact that this can operate in the background in a weird way, not a weird way, but in a way, and I actually have a whole other like line of questions for you in terms of even how you would compare this to like what psychedelics do too. But I'm curious, like, what is the difference for you between, this type of practice and meditation, like for you specifically?
So for me, I use meditation to stay in my body and stay super grounded, and to also kind of source and like make sure that I'm connecting to, multi-dimensional realities, of which like I often get a lot of my intuitive information. Right. So that's like that weird blend of analytical and super intuitive, of which I like use to invent things and share stories and lead teams. So I rely on my meditation practice to like make sure that I stay there. NeuroPraxis for me and NeuroSculpting as a modality is more of how I can transform things that I identify in my system, both physical and emotional and energetic. So it's almost like EMDR.
Okay.
Like if there's a trauma, so I was pummeled by extreme water in Kauai, and like had a near-death experience and ended up, doing EMDR for that, because I was like experiencing fear of water, which I don't like experiencing fear of any kind. And ultimately I brought that to the work I was doing with Lisa, and I got over it very, very, very efficiently. So it's more like it might be a little bit different because I want to kind of like do a glow module or do an anxiety module or just like do a feel good, but it's a much more efficient way for me to shift all the different layers.
So it's like if you are experiencing triggers, like whether it's anxiety or anger or any of those types of, it's like when you're basically launched into the sort of like sympathetic nervous system getting activated and going into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, like that is almost kind of what NeuroPraxis can help with when you're in those moments of like,
Overwhelm.
yeah, overwhelm, yeah, exactly, and trigger. Is that
Totally. And
okay?
yeah, it is what I'm saying, except the only caveat is I think sometimes I just will feel uneasy,
Mhm.
and then I'll go there and try to pull myself out of uneasy. I don't necessarily have to identify what the source of that disease is,
Got
right?
it. Got it. Okay. It's so interesting the way you um, kind of like I now having this understanding of what you use meditation for and the difference that NeuroPraxis, provides. Like I think because for me, I think not having NeuroPraxis yet, I go into meditation to try, especially when I'm feeling uneasy in my body, to try to like ground in, which, does help too. But I feel like what NeuroPraxis is doing is, again, I feel like it's like spot treatment. It's like so acute or precise what
Yeah,
it's
it's
doing,
like neural biohacking. It's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's really, really cool. I like want to send this out to all of my friends right now.
I know.
Please do. Thank you.
So my other question, you may not have an answer for this, but microdosing is something that Sam and I are really passionate about too, specifically microdosing psilocybin. And we also do, full trips pretty regularly as well. And they've been really expansive. And obviously I think with psilocybin, it's been kind of shown that what it helps to do in the brain is to like open up all these different pathways that perhaps have been closed off or that your neurons weren't used to going,
Or even create new ones.
and create new ones. Yeah. And so I'm curious, how does NeuroPraxis stack up with microdosing or psychedelics?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. Lisa and I have recently been discussing NeuroPraxis is almost like the thing that you do every day to stay in that state.
Mm-hmm.
Where psychedelics, whether it be microdosing or macrodosing, it's more of like, because you never want to microdose for too long, right? It's like a couple days on, couple days off, couple months on of that, couple months off of that. And for some people, based, on their makeup, that can be hard on the system.
Mm-hmm.
So it really functions in a very similar way to microdosing specifically, because except that it's targeting specific pathways and programs instead of being open-ended and ethereal.
Got it.
And there's almost more of an element of consistency there too, where it's like, because if you have a day where you're feeling a little bit off and you're microdosing, it's like, well, maybe you decide not to microdose that day, or it's like you tweak the protocol based on what your goals are and how you're feeling, versus like actually turning to it as like a support element in your routine and your rituals.
Yeah.
I mean, it is that too, but it's just not as consistent as like something you would do every day like this.
Yeah. And it's also, I think it's different. Like there's so many factors, right? So how are you microdosing? What else is in it? Is there alcohol in it? Is it like, there's 1,000 different things, right? And how does that impact the gut? And how does the gut impact the brain? And how does the food that you're eating intersect? And I mean, there's a lot. So I think that the one thing that is consistent when you're doing like neural patterning is that you're not necessarily relying on the chemical composition of what's going on in your gut.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
But what we're finding, which is the best thing ever, is that most people are doing the milk cleanse and using NeuroPraxis for like easy wellness intervention. They're not doing it because they've got some extreme something going on. They're doing it because they just want to like have a reset and give their body a rest and give like their brain and all the parts and pieces that, make us up, a chance to like recalibrate.
Mhm.
And so that was the most unexpected thing about both the milk cleanse and NeuroPraxis, is just like how many people are doing it for a quarterly or seasonal like wellness hack.
That's rad that they're using it together and that it's become complementary. I'm curious also, I know we asked this about NeuroPraxis, but who would you recommend the milk cleanse for aside from those who are going through some of the extreme symptoms from like Lyme disease and mold poisoning and things like
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that have been doing the milk cleanse for like 10 years, and they do it 3 to 4 times a year. And they do it to basically reset the gut, which then resets the brain and basically, all of the channels of the body, right? But like not everybody totally understands that. So it is technically a parasite cleanse. So a lot of people that kind of know about the modality, if they're traveling and they come back from traveling, or if they've just like gone through, who knows what, something where a period where they're like partying or they're having fun or they're eating unhealthy or whatever it might be, they'll often use the milk cleanse to just reset the gut. If people are experiencing bloating and discomfort, they'll often use it. It's amazing for people that are having issues with their skin. Obviously, the
Yours
skin's
truly.
the biggest organ in the body. I literally, anytime I have to do like a photo shoot or something, I do the milk cleanse. I do a micro cleanse for 4 days. 4 days, people will come up to you and they'll be like, "You're glowing. Why are you glowing?"
Wait, I do have a question though. So with the milk cleanse, it is also supplements that you take as well, right?
Yes. So you drink as much milk as you need, full fat animal milk, and you take these supplements every 2 hours.
And the supplements are the Ayurvedic herbs.
Yeah. So there's in the kit, in addition to the directions, there's 3 supplements. One is called Formula One. That's what you take during your first 8 days of only milk. You take 12 pills a day. The second supplement is what's called the herbal colon builder, easy for me to say, which helps keep things moving through your system so that you poop as much as possible. You end up talking about poop a lot when you're like on milk cleanse. And then the third supplement is after the initial 8 days, there's a 3-week return to clean nutrition where you take the supplements 3 times a day. And in that second section, there's a third supplement that's like a pepsin that helps rebuild the gut.
Yeah, I've got to try this. I'm so curious.
I know, me too. Because everything now that I feel like we're learning about our bodies and just the dysfunction in our bodies are really kind of leading us back down to gut health in everything, and so I had just never heard of this as being one way to kind of reset and to flush out all the toxins within the gut and to kind of right your body in that way. Like would you if you're doing probiotics or prebiotics, would you stop taking those?
Yeah, so we recommend that like people work with their doctors, of course, but typically you go off of everything that's supplements, probiotics, etc., and you stay on any like pharmaceuticals. So if somebody's relying on like something for their mental health or thyroid medication or any type of like Western medical medication, you stay on.
Man, so fascinating.
Oh my God. I literally use it now for everything. Like if I have a week where I know it's going to be stressful or like my brain feels foggy, if I've like been eating badly and my body's bloated, I'll do a milk cleanse and it just like day 2 brings me right back.
Wow.
That's so powerful. It's really interesting because like My relationship with milk, ironically, has been like sort of crazy my whole life. I used to just crave it all the time as a kid, and I would drink insane amounts of milk. And then as I got older, it was like, milk is very binding, so actually it makes sense that this would be used in a cleanse. But then in my head goes straight to like, oh my gosh, that much milk in your system would just totally tie up your gut. But once you mix it with the herbs and the supplements and you're going through the whole regimen, and it makes a lot of sense actually.
It's also interesting because, a lot of people associate, and again, no milk is created equal, right? So
Right.
we typically recommend like organic, as clean as possible, antibiotic free. Some people like raw milk if they're part of a co-op and they can source it. But, when you look at like the Samburu warriors, the Samburu people, they drink milk and they drink blood, which is, different. But one of the things that's interesting is when they drink the milk, they put herbs in it and it creates a different reaction in the body. So for a lot of us, and I am included in this, I'm totally lactose intolerant. Like I drink milk on a normal basis and with other food, and I get like, it's like icky and sticky and gross. When I'm on the milk cleanse and I take the supplements with it, nothing.
Whoa.
So
I was going to ask you.
Ayurvedically
Wow.
speaking, if you think about the constitution, right, of milk, which is cold and wet, and you think about the pills, which is made up of like cayenne pepper and cranberry and slippery elm, those supplements have like a heating, drying effect. So in connection with one another, it creates balance.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
And the other thing is there's no deprivation because milk, you have protein, fat, and carbs. So unless people aren't drinking enough milk, like that's the only time you're ever hungry.
Right. It's not like a juice cleanse or any of these things. Yeah.
Correct.
And you're drinking goat milk specifically, or cow milk is also okay?
Yeah, any type of full fat animal milk. So my first milk cleanse, you guys, Dave, my partner, who I told you about, the man that's credited for saving my life with the milk cleanse, he's a wine connoisseur. And so he said to me, listen, the first time, just treat it like a wine tasting. And I had everything you could imagine. I had camel milk and I had full fat, this milk from this farm, and I had this milk, this raw milk. And what I learned is that when I drink goat milk, which is like the closest thing to human DNA you can find, I feel high, like happy, energized, super good. When I drink cow's milk, I feel a little bit like lazier and slower. And I sort of love to like feel sharp and fast. So I don't really drink cow's milk unless I'm like, go get a coffee with somebody and then I'll get like a milk steamer or something.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the first books that I read on this beginning of our journey when I was also just trying to figure out what was going on with my body was Eat Dirt by Dr. Josh Axe, and he talks about milk a lot actually, and he highly recommends and he's all about like the gut too. His focus is more around like inflammatory disease in the gut and bowel issues, but essentially, it's like everything connects back to that. And he loves goat's milk and says that like it actually is in a lot of ways easier for our bodies to digest than cow's milk. So you're making me definitely like, I'm like tipping over the edge here. I'm like, I'm gonna have to try this.
I know.
That doctor and I need to be friends.
Yeah, he's pretty phenomenal. If you ever get the chance to read his book, Eat Dirt, it's so good. I mean, it's actually what led us to a lot of our aromatherapy sprays for our brand We Are All Daughters.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We always love to ask every guest the same question to close it out, but just your story is it's bonkers. It's like I'm still processing right now, which is making it really difficult for me to talk. What has been the piece of wisdom that you now carry with you, having gone through all of this your whole life, like, figuring out like why you were feeling like not so great, figuring out your diseases, all these different things, like, and also creating such incredible, again, art pieces, like pieces of work that you're putting out in the world. What is that piece of wisdom that you just kind of hang your hat on, that you just live by?
That's a big question. I think one part of the answer to that question is that there is no one answer to how to heal, how to optimize, how to nourish, how to create, how to execute. And we live in, a society where it's sort of been, this is the way to do it. Oh, no, this is the way to do it. Oh, no, this is the way that we have to do it, right? This is the way to work out. This is the way to eat. This is the supplement to take. This is the, the thing to do. And the truth is, like, we just need to have the freedom to be discerning, to understand what works in the instance of like an individual for each and every one of us, in the instance of a company or an organism of a business for that team in that moment in time. And so I think that, like, and the other part of it is we're living in a world that's changing. And so the things that worked for us 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, or worked for our ancestors, may not work today because the world around us, the air that we're breathing, the nutrients in the soil, quality of our water, the anxiety of the people that, are near us. Like, there's so many factors. And so that's the place where, when I talk about the milk cleanse and what it does, it's a tool to bring our bodies into balance. And I honestly think about that for everything, whether it's, you guys were mentioning microdosing, or we talked a little bit about, nutritional biohacking. You mentioned my mezcal company. I have a clean mezcal company that is distilled with an aphrodisiac called Damiana that I use in the same way to, like, bring my energy up or down, bring my body into a certain type of experience. And I think that, like, that's the intuitive opportunity that we have as individuals to know what we need in any moment.
Thank you for that. I think this is the message that I feel like I personally have been getting a lot this year. I've spent so much of my life looking outward and wanting to learn from others and wanting to receive their wisdom, receive their, and there's value in that, but almost to a detriment of not being able to listen or not trusting my own voice and what I feel is right for my body. And I think that distrust was what caused this disconnection from myself and my body, that I'm now working so, like, wholeheartedly on trying to reconnect. And I just loved everything you just said about really listening to yourself. And I mean, I think your whole life has been a really beautiful example of listening and experimenting and exploring and not being afraid to go into these territories that, may not have necessarily spoken to you first, but clearly, hold a lot of, like, value and wisdom in them as well. And I just find that, like, just you who you are as, like, this, very, very, like, specific and unique being. I think this is what you bring to the world too, just the invitation to just
Absolutely.
follow your gut, literally.
Yeah. And giving yourself permission to do that too, without worrying about going against the system.
Thank you both again for just, giving me the chance to talk from my heart, rather than just my brain today. Because being able to have conversations like this that kind of bridge all the different, like, parts of the whole, that's like my truest place. And it just there's a different resonance to it. And I love the chance to kind of go to the depths that we all just went to. And, you know, there's a vulnerability in it, of course, but more than that, it's like the connecting of all the different forces, so to speak. So I just so appreciate the chance to like have this journey with you two today.
Thank you.
Same.
It's been an honor.
Yeah, truly. I can't wait to like put this episode out and tell people all about this stuff. It's so exciting to me, actually. Like, so thank you so much for sharing your energy and the lessons, your life, your story. I mean, I'm going to be processing this for days.
I just can't wait for us to hang out. We have to make a plan to like hang out on a mountaintop somewhere soon.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Music for Woo New is composed by Adam Miller.